Hello and welcome back to another episode of Rundown and Broke Down. I'm your host Sage, and in today's video we are once again going to be working on the 1977 Pontiac Trans Am. And if this intro looks a little bit familiar, it's because I actually had too much good footage from the last video. So I am recording this audio bit over that intro. This is going to be the rest of that day's footage. I didn't anticipate this much good footage, as I have a huge tendency to just walk away from what I'm doing because I'm searching for tools that are literally right next to me, or I get sidetracked, or any number of reasons along with my incoherent rambling. But anyway, let's get into this video where we are finishing up the work we were doing that day, which is the wheel bearings and the brakes. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Oh, don't fight me. Alright. We got the brake lines now. So I'm going to go ahead, fight this one off real quick. Then after we got that off, snag the new ones on. That'll be fun. Need you. I need you. I also drove the new lug stud into this rotor because it just needed the one. So I got that taken care of. Where are the pliers? You're not the right size. Well, never mind. We're actually going to do that other one first. That way I can get my wrench back. So, set you up over here. See, I left the wrench there. Forgot I did that. Go ahead, break this out. A lot nicer than that other one. A lot better condition. New banjo bolt fittings, but no new banjo bolt. So that would come with the caliper. And it's supposed to have a little E-clip in there, from what I saw, which I think I have. Well, I was wrong. I don't have the E-clip. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on. Not an 11/16, which means it's still a 5/8, which means that a 16 will probably work considering this is an actual hex head. Not that two-sided flat that it was. I need those little pliers so that I can fight the brake line shielding again. So I'll be right back. Oh, never mind. I left them somewhere that made sense, which doesn't make sense. So that's all fine and dandy. You're not an 11, but you fit all the same. So I got that prepped, ready to go. So now I'll do the other side. I need that wrench I just had, this one, and this, and the vice grips I put over there. So you're coming back with me again. Set you there. So all these brake lines are shielded, which is good. Don't get me wrong. But it kind of makes this a pain in the ass. Let's get a flare wrench over it. Might have to use a not flare wrench on this one because, well, it's at such an extreme angle. I don't think I'm going to be able to get the flare nut wrench over it. And yeah, I can't really peel back the shielding any. I don't have any leverage. But this wrench is double-sided, so we'll just go ahead, we'll do that. We'll grab vice grips, we'll let that fall, and it's not cooperating on this side. Wonderful, there it goes. Pontiac, why did you put shielding right there and run that line like that? That's just not very bright. Why? Why must you be difficult? Alright, well, didn't have to rotate that. Good, yes. So we'll knock out this E-clip. So now, do the same on this side. Get this opened up. Normally I don't condone this kind of stuff, but I'm not pleased at the moment. And I just want access to the brake line. There we go, now it's in. Now, tighten down the brake hose. It doesn't want to cooperate, so whatever. Alright, next up, I gotta get these bearings re-greased. It's real easy. You just buy bearing grease. And then, because this historically has made a huge mess, I'm going to do something rarely seen on YouTube, at least rarely seen by me. I'm going to do the smart thing. I'm going to put on gloves. The reason for this being, I don't feel like cleaning grease off my hands for 20 minutes. So, wheel bearing, greasing one. Real easy. Take your bearing. You want to take some grease. Let me set this down first. So take some grease, put it in the palm of your hand, and take your bearing, and you're just going to do this with it. You're just going to keep pushing that grease up through the rollers. Kind of keep doing this swooping motion. See, these bearings are already pretty well packed, Generally, you want to keep doing that until you see it push up. But with these bearings being already kind of packed with grease, I'm just kind of repacking them. I'm trying to get it to where they're better than they were. So with that being said, I'm going to get a bunch of grease up in there, drop it in the collar, take some of the grease, wipe it on the collar, just to kind of give that back bearing a little bit of fresh grease to work with. Then, not thinking this through, I'm trying to not get grease on myself, not a lot of it anyway, which I succeeded. I got hair in my mouth. We're going to take our rotor and slide it on, making sure to get our, making sure to get our bearing on there. So now I'm holding the bearing, doing the exact thing I didn't want to do, which is awesome, because I don't have any brake clean. You're going to find your keyway for your washer. Put your washer in. Take your castle nut, make sure it doesn't have a bunch of crap on it, which this one's good. Rotate it on there. I'm now going to wipe off my hands, so try to keep the freaking mess from spreading. We're going to take our crescent wrench, or pipe wrench, or whatever you want to use. You're going to run this nut down. And I might have a socket that fits that, I don't know. But I'm doing it with a wrench for now. Spin it over while you're tightening it down. Try and work some of that grease through the bearing. This is also how you're going to set your preload on your bearings. Now you're going to back it off. Once you can't turn it anymore, spin it. You see how much more I just got it turned? So we're going to spin it again. Work some of that grease through the bearing. Back it off half turn. And look. You want it to just where they're going to start dragging. So with that being said, I'm going to back off again. And I feel like that's a little too loose. So work it right there. And I feel like that's good enough. And the bearing is way quieter than it used to be. I'm going to take this lug nut just to make it easier to spin over, just to show you. I'm giving it some work, but not a lot. So now we're going to take a cotter key, fish it through there. I brought the cotter key kit over here. It would help if I remembered that, but I didn't. So, cotter key, find your hole, stick it through your hole, bottom out the key. Now what you want to do is, I like to take it this way, Get nice down in there. And if my pliers were set right, I'm going to bend those tails up and around. That's just how I do it. So I come in, I snip them, I beat it a little. I know it's not going to go anywhere. So now we got our repacked bearing. Take our dust cap, and you can use a regular hammer for this. I don't, because I don't like buying things. Yeah, also helps when you get it on there straight. Get it on there straight as you can. And you're just going to tap it home. I like using a dead blow. It's nice and easy on it. And now we have packed wheel bearing. And it's way quieter than it was because these were not really that well packed, and well, they also weren't really that well tightened down. They didn't have preload on them, not good preload. So now we're gonna finish up our caliper here and move on to the other side. Not 7/16, but you're close enough, so it's good enough for me. And there we go. That kind of hurt. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have done that. I did it anyway. Smack our wrench off and fish off our line here. Is there even a crush washer on here? Yes, there is. Okay. I was about to say, why is everything done wrong? And just because I know it's going to spill, I'm just going to drain it onto the cardboard preemptively. And then push our pads back in, get them set up. And we're going to grab guide bolts. Put our caliper up here, making sure that the pads are fitting over the rotor, which they're not. So I'll go ahead and press that in a little bit, and slides on there nice and easy. Now we take our bolt, which I'm sitting on, fish it through here. We're going to line up the hole. Yes, there's a hole to line up. So there is holes that you're going to have to line up. Don't just try to force it through and hope for the best, because that's never going to work. It's never going to work right. You're going to end up causing a lot of trouble, a lot of headache. I mean, yeah, you can get lucky once or twice, but I prefer it to just be right the first time, because brakes are not something I like to mess with. If you mess up this spindle and you can't save it, you got to go find a new spindle. You got to go buy a new spindle, or a used one, or find one. If you mess up a caliber bracket, that's different, but this is a spindle. And this is why I hate the Allen bolts, because if this was a regular ratchet, I'd have the right size here. Ow! But I don't. So now I gotta waste time around with this. As much as I love you, GM, you make some dumb choices sometimes. Can I cheat this a little bit? I want to. Alright. So I got that buttoned up. In here. I need to get Allen wrench back in here. Give it a good tug. Make sure it's tight. Lose my Allen wrench forever because it's stuck in the car. Alright. It's good. It's tight. Crush washers. If it is your first time doing brakes, doing calipers, I don't care what it is, it's gonna have crush washers. And it's these guys. You want one on the outside and one on the inside. This is what seals your brake hose to your caliper. Make sure you do it right, otherwise you're gonna have a brake leak and well, no stoppage. And also, another thing, make sure you take your old ones off. Make sure they come off. Put one on the bolt. Bingo. And it's going to have a little spot for you to line it up in. And you'll see it. You'll see that little spot. To make it easier on yourself, turn the wheel away from you. You want the caliper to be as far out as possible, whether it's a front caliper or a rear caliper. If it's on the front end, turn it out. It's going to make your life easier. And then you're not sitting there trying to fight it as much. And then repeat the process for the other side. All right. So that's all good right there. Oh, don't tell me you're stuck too. Great. I was going to start letting this gravity bleed by buttoning up the other, I was going to get this ready for gravity bleeding while I was getting the other side ready. But seeing as how this bleeder is now stuck too, we're going to have to replace on him. So let's go see if I have another bleeder. Really hoping I do. So we're going to run him all the way down, and then we'll leave him cracked. That way, when we get that other side buttoned up, and I start paying attention to some other stuff, I can let this kind of gravity bleed. And the way that works is the master cylinder sits higher than the race. So the fluid wants to travel down. Now, seeing as the master cylinder is pretty much empty and it's not going to fill this up, I'm not going to be worried about it right now. But what I am going to do is get this prepped so when I start working on something else, I can just let it gravity bleed. Let it do its thing, and I don't got to think about it. So let's hop over to the other side of the car. Alright, rotor. As you can see, we're missing a bunch of lug studs. I went and picked up a bunch. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this paper towel down, keep any crap from bouncing back up, because we have to drive these in from the back side. And this is the fun part. By the fun part, I mean the not fun part. So I already know that these are all the right ones. I compared them all, made sure they were right, and I don't know what you go to. Made sure they were right. I know what you go to. So I already made sure they were right, and all we have to do is drive them in. Already drove one in, took a couple minutes, it wasn't that bad. I don't have all of the right stuff, so I'm using this deep well socket, which I have plenty more of. It just so happens this one's snap-on. Right? I already destroyed it, so it's, you know, it's too late for it. It doesn't matter. But you want to start tapping it home, and it's probably going to go in a little bit crooked if you're doing it this way. Take one of your lug nuts. The rest are going to fall out, which is fine. Really only set them in there for demonstration purpose. That's the really bad lug nut. That one's better. You're going to thread it on till you get it all the way down to the rotor. Tap it over. Now, because this one's starting out is kind of a pain, I'll show you a little trick I know about. So, you're going to take a crescent wrench like this. You're going to snug it up all the way up against that lug nut. Then, you're going to start turning it. Obviously, you don't want the lug nut to really, or the rotor to move, but what you're doing is you're sucking it up and applying some pressure so that when you flip it back over, you can grab your tooling and start driving it in. Flip it back over, you can see there's more space now. And yeah, it's going a little bit crooked, but at this point, you just tap it over, snug it back up, still a little crooked, tap it over, snug it up, snug it up, snug it up, and it's good. Now you're going to keep on working it. And make sure to check periodically. Tighten up your lug nut again. Sitting a little crooked. Tap it over. If it's not working with the wrench, give it a little tap with the hammer so you can apply much more force. And yeah, I can see a pretty big gap. So just going to try and close up that gap. There we go. Nice and closed. Flip it back over, and we're going to keep on working it. Grab our wrench again. Get it snug, and it's looking pretty level all around. I'm breaking off pieces of the socket, which is, you know, great. Generally, you want to do this with an actual punch, but I'm just making it work. I can see a little gap. No, I don't see any gap, and you'll know when it's seated because you'll have cone right there just getting ready to crest up. So it still needs a little bit more work, but it's just about there. And there we go, nice and seated. So now we get to repeat the process another 3 times. So I'll see you when I'm done. Well, off camera, the sacrificial socket decided it was done, flew into this bush. I can't find it, so I have another sacrificial socket. So yeah, it's I don't know where it went. I saw it fly up over there, and it's gone. So yeah, I'm gonna try and finish this up. All right, so just about ready to finish this up. I'm gonna repack this bearing, get the preload on it, and then the front will be pretty much taken care of, short of putting the caliper on. So we're going to get it to right there first. I'm going to drop a little bit of grease down the back side of this. Just to give that back bearing a little bit of hope. And yeah, the grease was dirty and burnt. Get that all greased up. Wipe off my glove. Minimize the grease in contact with the rotor. Pull the brake line out of the way. Pull those wrenches out of the way. And we're just going to repeat the same process as we did on the other side. Scoop some grease into our hand. And I'm getting that old grease out of the front, so I know that it's packing. That's what that old grease looks like. It's that black crap. I'm going to throw a little bit of grease on the front of this bearing. So that when I slide it on in here, it's got a little bit of grease on, or in between. It worked flawlessly. No grease in my mouth. Set those aside. And now we're going to repeat our same process. Going to get the castle nut ready. Go ahead and throw that on there. And I see a little bit of crap in the threads. So wipe that off. Wipe out that crap in the thread. Open this up. Get this seated. And you can see that grease working out of that bearing. So we're going to run our nut down further. And you see, every time I'm rotating it, I'm getting that grease to pack farther. Now, that could be interesting and concerning. Take another cotter pin, find our hole, and that's good enough. So, repeat the same process as last time, except this time, what I'm going to do is take my pliers, this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pliers, get that halfway, I'm going to rotate that up, same with that. We're going to crush that cotter key up against the castle nut. Just because for whatever reason this bearing is sitting a lot lower. And well, I'm not redoing it, not right now. Alright, we got that nice and seated. Take our dust cap, go ahead and put it on there. I forgot the dead blow on the other side, so I'm just making light work with this. And there we go. Now we can put the caliper on, and we can put a new brake line all together and let this gravity bleed. There we go. And show you the holes you're going to be lining it up with. You see it right in there. Probably not super well, but it goes all the way back through there. So you're going to take a caliper, you're gonna find out where it wants to sit, which is right there. You're going to line it all up, and you're going to thread it through. You see it starting to thread through. And then you're going to take your lower bolt, and you're going to do the same thing. Find out where it wants to sit, and you can use this bolt to guide the hole. That's what it's meant for. It's a guide bolt. It's a caliper bolt, guide bolt. It does two jobs. You're going to guide that through, and then successfully put your calipers in. So I'm going to go ahead, wipe off the pliers. And once I get this hand threaded where it's starting to slip out of my fingers, I'm going to go ahead, take these pliers, I'm just going to rotate that bolt in. And just like that, we bottomed it out. This bottom one, do the same thing. Trust me, if I had a socket that was the right size, an Allen bit socket the size, I'd be doing that instead. Alright, grab our Allen key. That's the wrong size one. I left it over on the other side of the car. Alright, grab our Allen key. I'm going to go ahead and tighten her on up. That one feels good. And that one's good. So now, following that same process as earlier, rotate this out all the way. We got new crush washers on. There is a side too. I want the rounded side out. I want the cut side in. So that's what's going to actually seal. Or at least so I've been told. I don't know, I've always done it that way, so I don't know how much of a difference, if any, it makes. And this brake line is fighting me a lot more than the other one was. There we go. All right. I know completely what I forgot. Shit. So as I'm sure you noticed, I'm opening this back up. It's because I forgot part of it. I'll show you that in just a second. The part I forgot was the washer. I don't know how I forgot the washer, but I did. I kept sitting there thinking, you know, it looks kind of weird. Something's off with it. I don't know what it is. Well, I know what it is because I just looked at it. It's sitting on a paper towel right next to me. All right, so we got our vacuum bleeder hooked up. It sat with a fitting for a long time, so the hose is kind of swelled out. So clip, make new, make seal, and yeah, that seals a lot better over it. Topped off the reservoir, more vacuum, And we're finally starting to get fluid. So with this, you want to keep it right around 10 inches of vacuum if I recall correctly. So we're going to go ahead, pop off our line, pop over to the other side, repeat the same process. Because the car is sitting up high, the line doesn't reach, so I have to elevate the bottle. Alright, we got the car on the ground. We got the brakes bled, front brakes. They're all reassembled. The wheel bearings have been repacked and re-greased. So let's see how it does. And the timing's off. Wonderful. All right, we got the car back on the ground, front wheels on. We got the brakes bled, at least the best I could get to them with that crappy vacuum bleeder. And we repacked the wheel bearings, so let's see how it does. Brakes feel a lot better already. The car's still warming up.
think I'm going to call that a win. I was getting the brakes to lock up somewhat, which means they're definitely starting to work now a lot better than it was. And there isn't really much more I can do on it today. Again, I'm halted by parts, halted by other things I have to take care of. So I'd like to thank you for watching this episode of Rundown and Broke Down, and we'll see you next time.